Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your little break and you are ready to go. So what are we going to be doing now? We have done the peripheral and the autonomic nervous system. Now we are moving to the nerve cells. Right, nerves. That is a new definition that's been added. And what is a nerve? It sends and carries signals to and from all parts of the body and are made up of neurons. So these signals it's sending is obviously our nerve impulses, right? So that's the signals they are talking about. Let's have a look at what a nerve fiber looks like. This is a spinal nerve. How do I know that? This is a spinal cord. Can you see there's a little H there, or the little butterfly, the gray and the white, if you remember from the central nervous system. So your spinal cord here has the spinal nerve coming out of it, the spinal nerve. Right, so here's the spinal nerve going there towards the rest of the body. But now it's branching into little roots. We call these roots. That is roots, right? And we have at the back, this is the dorsal side, and this here is the ventral side. Remember, ventral is your stomach, and that is the back there. So what happens is your nerve will leave the spinal cord, and then you will look here in front. What you'll see is it's like nerve bundles here, right? And within these nerve bundles, we'll find our little nerve cells, neurons, right? You don't have to know the structure of the nerve cell or the nerve fiber. That's just for interest's sake, just to give you some little background of what we are talking about. So you don't have actual nerve cells connecting here. The nerve cells are within the spinal nerve, right? There's cells in there, but the nerve is actually a compilation of a lot of nerve cells or neurons. So what is a neuron? They are specialized cells which connect the brain and the spinal cord to the other parts of the body, right? So they are cells, they are microscopic little things. Now you've got the following parts, and these are the only parts that you need to know: the cell body, cytoplasm, nucleus, dendrite, axon, myelin sheath. These are the only ones. I know in your textbook there are Schwann cells and node of Ranvier, and they've got a lot of things there. Yes, they are scientifically correct, but we don't award marks at the end of the year if you write those labels. Keep to these that I'm telling you today. It's in the exam guidelines. That is what is required. But let's have a look. This is a typical neuron. You can see this part here. This is the cell body, right? So that little dark thing there will be the nucleus. You know that's where the DNA is. This will be the cytoplasm. And then you have these little protrusions out here, like that. We call them the dendrites, right? They will always take the nerve impulse towards the cell body, right? Then we have a very long protrusion here, and that we call the axon. The axon will always take the nerve impulse away from the cell body, right? So the cell body is your central place here. The dendrites will take it towards it, and the axon will take the impulse away from it. That is where the myelin sheath come in. It's extremely important. This is the insulation. It's a fatty layer there. And if you think at home, say for example you make tea, you take your kettle and you want to plug it into the wall socket. Do you have copper wires there that you now are putting into the wall? No. You will shock, you will have pain, you'll die maybe. No, you can't do that. The kettle's cord is insulated with plastic. You don't touch the copper wires. And the reason for that being, firstly, safety. You don't shock, the electrical impulses don't get lost, and the kettle will in any case not boil then. So that is what the myelin sheath does. It insulates the axon, and it ensures that this impulse will go there fast. It will move through there fast. So it increases the speed of your nerve impulse. Now there are three types of neurons. The first one is a sensory neuron, or the afferent. Remember, afferent means towards the central nervous system, right? So it's towards the central nervous system. And that's this one. It looks like a little alien eye. I always think of a little monster or alien looking at me there, right? The cell body is here on the side looking at you, right? So that will be your receptor cell, and the impulse will be moving that side. Then your interneurons, they are always found in the spinal cord. They look like a little tree. Can you see there? Looks like a little bush there, right? And then the motor neuron are the efferent. What does efferent mean? Away from the central body, right? So it will take the impulses from the central nervous to the effectors, and that's what the motor neuron looks like. Let's look into them in more detail. This is a motor neuron. I took this from the DBE textbook, the new one, and it's also always multipolar. Multipolar means look at all those dendrites there. You can see it's lots of them, hey? So that is multipolar. You need to, if you have to draw a labeled drawing, you need to draw the cell body, the nucleus, the cytoplasm, the myelin sheath, the axon, right? And remember, it will always be away from the cell body, so the direction of the impulse will always go down. And these are the terminal ends of the axon. All right, next one. I call it the alien one. Little eye looking here at me. That's the cell body, right? Nucleus, cytoplasm, and the axon. And it will always go from the receptor to the central nervous system here at the bottom. Central nervous system. That's the direction of the impulse. Next one. The interneuron, also multipolar. Can you see all those dendrites there, right? So the dendrites, the cytoplasm, the nucleus, the cell body. Can you see it's very easy? And the axon, and obviously the myelin sheath. Right, that you mustn't, oh, I'm writing so ugly. Not good with that. All right. So that is basically the 3 neuron cells that you get. Right, now just an interesting fact is that blue whales, remember that's a very big fish in the oceans, huge. They have neurons that can be between 10 and 30 meters in length. That is immensely long. And this is a microscopic cell, so the axon will be 10 to 30 meters in length. That is amazing if you think about it. A giraffe, those animals with the long necks, those necks 5 meters long. So the axons in those necks must be 5 meters long. Human neurons, it depends on how tall you are, but basically from your hip here down to your leg can be 1 meter long. But I mean, if you're short, you're only 1 meter long, your axon won't be that long, right? Our nervous system allows for a 1 millisecond response time. People, that is extremely fast, right? So immediately you will have a reaction if there's pain or something threatening you. Right, let's look at some questions. Indicate the type of neuron in the diagram. Obviously, that will be a motor neuron. State one function of part B. Part B is the axon. I said axon always carries the impulse away from the cell body, right? And towards the effector, the muscle or the gland. It must react. Explain the roles of part C in the functioning of the neuron. That's part C there. That is obviously your myelin sheath. You have to explain, so you have to say what it's doing. It's insulating, right? It's insulating, and that's why the impulses will be conducted faster. And lastly, the diagram shows different neurons. You'll see here, there's the sensory, the motor, and the motor neuron, right? Give only the numbers 1, 2, and 3 or 4 of the 2 neurons that transport impulses from the receptor to the central nervous system. Remember, receptor to central nervous system. That will be number 1 and number 4, the googly eye one, right? Then we'll have a faster transmission of impulses. That will be the ones with the myelin sheath. Remember, I said myelin sheath insulates and increases the speeds. That will be 1 and 3. So after all that information you got now, it's time for a break. Go and get some cool drinks, some cake, and then you come back after the ad break.